Restorers, welcome to a fresh episode of the Restoration Today podcast. This is actually the very first one that I'm recording in 2025, and I have a repeat guest with me, which is really exciting. And we're here to talk about technology, as we talk about a lot on this podcast, and estimating and getting paid and all of those good things that are on every restorer's mind, especially going into a new year and making sure that you get paid in time. So, all right, I'm welcoming Chris Tilkov into the conversation. He is the Director of Product Development and GM of AiME, which is a DocuSketch company. He's actually the founder of AiME, and his company was purchased by DocuSketch several years ago. He has stayed on board and helped kind of that technology evolve and help estimating in general move forward kind of through the DocuSketch platform with AiME. So, Chris, welcome back. I'm excited to see you here and have you back in the conversation. I think is this your third time on the podcast or second? What do we think?
I think it's two. Definitely written a few articles over the years as
Yep.
well, but it's also been a few years, a lot of changes, and glad to be kicking it off with you here in 2025. So thanks for having me, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Well, thanks for being here. And for people who are listening, Chris does have an article in the January, February issue. So feel free to pick that up and kind of dive into that. He's talking about the shift from using files to digital age era of estimating. So be sure to check that out. It's a great article. Okay, Chris, share a little bit about yourself for people who aren't familiar with you, kind of your background in the industry, how you got here, all those good things.
Sure. Yeah, I stumbled into the industry at 17, not knowing what it was. Just put my resume in as you did back then, and had the pleasure of growing with a great company from 25 employees to well over 100, and incredible revenue growth with them at the same time. And I started as a flood tech and carpet cleaner, bounced around a ton in the office. Eventually became an estimator, which is where I somehow stuck. I barely meet the qualification of being a millennial. I'm probably the oldest millennial you can find, and but somehow stayed at the same company, not even just the same industry, but the same company for nearly 17, 18 years, I think it was. So a lot of exposure to a lot of different areas, and before joining a national franchise group as well at the corporate level, and eventually starting my own company in the tech space in restoration. So really seen a lot of areas of the industry. And, since the last time we talked, career growth continues with being part of an exceptional team at DocuSketch, um, where our product fits very nicely in their total product offering. You get your immersive 360 tours with them. You can get your estimate written by them, and then you can use AiME's technology to have it reviewed as well. So that's how the journey continues, and we continue to look and build new things all the time as well.
Awesome. What did you like about being an estimator once you got there? It seems like you reached the estimator level in restoration, and that's kind of in a way where you've stayed in adjacent somehow. But what did you like about estimating that got you there and like this is it for me?
I've had a weird a weird way of liking jobs that people avoid or didn't like. And at the time I became an estimator in the region I was in, Xactimate and Symbility were quite new. The West out here in Canada was the last holdout in the continent for trying to keep those out. Um, so it was an unpopular place, but there's often opportunities that you can find by going into the areas where no one else wants to, and problem solving within those. So becoming an expert in that when nobody else wanted to was appealing. And then, growing a team around that, we had the ability to be a lot better than our competitors by kind of getting ahead of it. So estimating continues to evolve. So,
Yeah.
looking at what an estimator today might be drawn to might be different than what it was for me back then, but you really do get a lot of exposure to all of the different areas of the company. When you're estimating, you see usually the content reconstruction, emergency side fire. So you're getting kind of an understanding of the whole big picture of it. So, and then it goes off to invoicing. So like it's a great place to work in, if period, but also to advance your career. You can kind of see all these different areas of the company's restoration contractors and areas you might be able to work in.
Okay, so this is a tangent a little bit, but it ties into what you just said. The industry is kind of on a continual shortage of having new talent coming in, and nobody goes to college or comes out of high school thinking, I'm going to go into insurance restoration. That sounds super fun, like a great career I want. No one's ever going to say that. So, looking back, like, what kind of advice would you give restorers, maybe even who are trying to recruit younger people into their companies? Like, how can our industry be a draw for younger generations that probably are not realizing that there are great careers here to be had?
Uh, I might not be so strong on the recruitment side, but I have some comment on the retention for sure after both being an employee and then being a manager at multiple stages of my career for at a restoration contractor. And I'm looking up on my bookshelf right now. I'd refer you to Why Workers Quit. Great
Uh-huh.
book by Know How for some insights in there as well.
Yep.
But for keeping good employees. I think I've always thought of that, or more recently thought of that, I guess, after being both an employee and a manager, that how reciprocal the uh, employer-employee relationship really should be. And to keep good people employed, I think you need to offer them opportunity. I think it's very tempting and easy for a restoration contractor when things are just operating nicely, status quo, everybody's out there doing their work, just to not want things to change.
Yep.
So you've got a great technician, as it may be, um, really good at their job, been doing it a few years. You don't want that to change, but being cognizant that that employee may want to change over time. So just having those regular, they should be more than those yearly check-ins that might be almost mandated. Really understanding what their career path is. Because if they're a good employee, you don't want to lose them to a competitor or another industry entirely.
Yep.
And if I look back on my career, I nearly left this industry multiple times and not out of strategy or anything. Like I was done being a tech at a certain point in time. I'd kind of, I was a really great tech, but I'd been at it for a while and, I wanted to do something new. I was looking for an opportunity, hopefully at the company that I worked in, but eventually I quit. But the moment I quit, it was at such a time in your life, if you could go back to it, when you could quit without another job already lined up. So I didn't even have anywhere to go. So they came back to me right away and kind of found, hey, what can we do? Where do we want to go? And I ended up working in the office then in a purchasing type role, amalgamating systems for multiple departments in probably Excel back then. Like, hopefully they're not so antiquated anymore and have a better system. But that relationship, like really understanding and talking to your employees, if they want to stay where they're at, great. If they want to move over time, just making sure you're having those regular check-ins and find the right opportunity. Um, I think retention is something that I've always focused on. I've been fortunate enough to have a lot of success on hiring and then really focus on making people happy.
Have you found that technology helps at all kind of in that retention side? I know younger generations are more interested sometimes in technology or being connected or finding easier, simpler ways to get things done. What do you think?
Yeah, for sure, and I can tie that to the two of the products that I represent here at the same time. But just thinking about it, if we've got now, I'd expect if I was still an estimating manager, so we're kind of hiring that little bit more exposure to technology and computer, like just in general type role. They're not applying to be out there on the tools type thing primarily. If I was looking at a resume from somebody, I'd probably expect that it might have gone through ChatGPT or something very similar. So that type of employee is somebody that expects to be using technology in their day. If they're willing to put their resume through, they should also be willing to put their estimate through an automated technology like AiME. Um, it's just not it's not something that they think of as imposing or threatening on their job. It's just part of the job. Estimators are made better through technology.
Yep.
What technology is available to me? How can I make my job easier to produce a better product? that's just become kind of the more normal way of thinking for the younger generations, and a bit of a joke for the 360 immersive imaging of docu-sketches. I'd almost expect for a Gen Z to be standing in the room in which they're working on, where they've just completed a 360 scan and have a question about the some of the materials, and rather than walking across the room, would probably open up their phone, zoom in a little bit, and that's a bit of a joke, but I don't think it's a stretch to say if they forgot something and they're outside in their van in the driveway that they'd probably check their phone before knocking on the door and going back in. So empowering employees to make their job easier, and they expect it at this point in time as well.
100%. Yeah. When we drive away from our house, sometimes my husband will be like, "Did I shut the garage door?" But even if we're down the block, we're not looping back. I'm looking on the app to see if that sucker's shut. Like, we're not going back to see
Yeah,
if it's
totally.
shut or not. Yes.
100%.
100% on technology. I'm curious. So, in your time as an estimator, this is a little bit of a two-part question, but what frustration did you find that led you to create AiME? And then talk a little bit about what AiME is so that people also understand what the platform is, what it does.
Sure. Let's start with what AiME is. AiME will review your estimate pretty much instantly and provide you results that help you both with completeness, so making sure you did not forget anything. Complementary line items exist in both the Xactment and Symbility. Sorry, I should be calling them CoreLogic estimating. Those both environments. So we'll help make sure you've capturing all of the value for the work that you're really going to be doing, but as well, there you can overscope as well. You may have put something in that is duplication or that the carrier doesn't allow. We catch those quickly, allow you to make the changes instantly. The technology is also embedded into some third-party estimating software, not just DocuSketch, but if you ordered a DocuSketch estimate, you'd have that in there as well. And led me to create AiME. Well, the segue from what AiME does is I found it I worked for a large contractor, multi-location, servicing many carriers, and all the carriers had different requirements. Um, my brain doesn't work very well in remembering tiny nuances of different. If you asked me what Nationwide versus State Farm was, I know they have a protocol for flooring respectfully. I couldn't tell you if they're the same or different.
Yep.
And when you get more and more carriers on board and your binder on your desk is getting bigger and bigger and you're meant to be flipping through that, it's tedious and time consuming. And um, I'm one of the things that has driven my career is dyslexic thinking, and realizing that my solution to those problems of kind of coding a database to look it up quickly was scalable, was one of the things, wouldn't just help me, but help a lot of people, was one of the kind of a eureka moment in designing AiME. So the problem that I was having, although I may have tackled it different than a lot of people, um, was something that many people could benefit from. So that's how AiME was born. I set out on my own and created a massive database algorithms, and allowed estimates to get dropped through and reviewed quickly.
How long does it take for an estimate to get reviewed? And how many changes would you say, if you could predict, the average estimate needs or is missing or whatever?
Sure. The review is near like moments, like seconds for a average $10,000 file. It can spin away for a lot, up to 10 seconds, but that's for $1 million file. We've reviewed tens of millions of dollars in there. But at a certain point, it takes a lot to look through the whole estimate for even the big brain servers that we have powering these things. So if you're okay to wait a couple minutes on a multi-million-dollar estimate, we'll have a full review for you by the time you get back with your cup of coffee.
Yeah.
And in terms of the number of like, it's hard to say what is an average estimate too, because there's
Yes.
mitigation versus content or reconstruction. But we're putting 4 or 5. I'm thinking of the 10 to $20,000 range. We're usually coming up with 4 or 5 compliance reminders or issues. Or reminders just like, hey, double check this. An issue would be like, you need to change this, or else the carrier is going to kick it back to you anyway. and 6 to 8 on the value add side. Um, and what that actually translates to us, not from any data or anything that AiME or DocuSketch inputs, but our customers' data. If when they put, we have a great feature that allows you to revise your file. There's no additional cost. So you put the file through once, get your response, and then at no additional cost, you can put that file through again. We'll record the value change for you, and uh, you may have actually triggered another rule if you change that estimate significantly enough too. So we encourage people to do that for the added benefit. But we add 3.4% on aggregate to our files. But when you subtract the compliance concerns that also come out of there is 2%. So on net, we're adding 1.5% to files. So more than covers the cost of using our service for pretty much all of our contractors out there that are using that revised feature to track. So that was something we added at the end of 2023, I believe. And yeah, a lot of people are liking what they see. It really shows the value proposition of these kind of technologies.
Is it also helping expedite invoices, essentially estimates invoices to be accepted and paid faster because they've gone through the process and kind of some of the potential hiccups were caught early?
Yeah, absolutely. So AiME specifically, and I know there's this great document out there, the State of the Industry report that had um,
Uh-huh.
getting paid faster as a significant issue.
Yeah.
Yes, and the whole environment of documentation, if you're using something like DocuSketch 360 Tour, getting that, you can get your estimate completed really quick. You can get your sketch uh, completed exceptionally fast and the entire estimate out the door. AiME then helps specifically with the review process. If you're able to get ahead of some of those compliance concerns before the carrier ever sees it to bat it back to you, we're going to get some of those files reviewed with zero touches where it used to take one. And if it used to take two, we can't handle everything. You're still going to deal with some things that have more to do with the policy or just a discussion for approval with adjusters. So, we're never going to eliminate it all, but on net, we definitely review the time and process for estimate review.
What does it take to stay like up to date on compliance and stuff with the different carriers? I mean, things are always changing. I think about that like in social media and marketing strategy and trying to keep up with the changes. It's constant. So yeah, how does your team keep up with that so that AiME is as updated as possible?
Well, yeah, we're getting better and better at that over time as well. So we were always kind of happy and working with our contractors for receiving information, but now we're doing working closer with carriers as well on major programs. So we're incredibly up to date in those cases. And with with one major pilot that we did, we really are showing how reactive AiME can be. So if we work closely with the team, we made changes or added new rules to 40 few, I forget the exact number, rules for a particular carrier in under a month as they updated their protocols and so delivering that message from the carrier directly to the contractor and making it easier along the way. That's a new approach for us now that we're part of DocuSketch and have exposure to the carrier side in a bigger way. We continue to get a lot of feedback from our contractors, and then just the DocuSketch estimating team has grown so much as well. So we get a lot of feedback through that channel as well if we need to make any updates. So we that's that's never going to stop. We can never say we're done. We're happy with where we're at with that because some carrier out there is changing the rules right now,
Yep.
and staying on top of that is integral to what AiME does. And I do believe, I believe that AiME is still the only one out there that offers the specific carrier requirements at the same time as adding estimate value as well from any of the competitive softwares that are out there.
Okay. That's amazing. Do you have any specific examples or stories? I love asking everybody this, but a story of like a restorer came to you and they're like, man, we ran our estimate through AiME and this happened, or something, some story from your journey so far and how the tool's been used or helpful. I can let you think on it.
Um,
Can't think of one off the top.
I I'm trying to think of a specific because that's often how our demos go. We're in a great position now. We offer a freemium now, so anybody wants to just try our product, they can go and put a file through a test for themselves, and maybe have that eureka moment to yourself before continuing on to a paid service if you like what you see. But in our demos, if you sign up for a demo with us right now, we're going to offer to review your files with you. We're very comfortable with going straight to not a controlled situation. What is your reality? What are the files that you're looking at day to day? Let's go review that. So we'll drop that file through with you, and we there's not one specifically, Michelle, that jumps out at me because it's kind of a regular occurrence
Yeah.
that are like, oh, so you're going to charge me $10 for that, but we just added $400 to a $10,000 claim in 10 minutes
Yeah.
after, you get the review very quickly, you read it and you implement your changes. That's kind of how our demo and sales process often looks.
Okay. I like it. If you were to, I know you're a little bit removed from being an actual estimator now, but you're still involved in a day to day. If you were
Mhm.
to set up an estimating department today, what do you think would be the best process to have in place for creating the best possible accurate estimate to get paid quickly? It's a big question, but
Yeah, great question. So, yes, get a 360 DocuSketch tour. I'll leave it at 360 for this. Get your 360 tour because whether uh, I'll go back to when I was in the field. We attended jobs often as estimators. I felt it when I managed the department. I felt it was advantageous to go and get boots on the ground and see the reality versus just the photos and documents in our system at that time. I would still suggest that boots on the ground is a good idea, maybe less because the immersive experience is that much better. 360 technology is powering all sorts of third-party estimating softwares out there as well. So, like, it's clear that you don't need, as an estimator, to be there, but getting out there every once. So if I was setting up my own department, I'd still want them to get out there, see what the job site looks like from time to time. But our process would be 360 tours on all files. It would be have the ability in-house to write and understand exactment and stability estimates. But you can go back to our previous interview or an article I did with you because I'm not just pitching DocuSketch estimating and third-party estimators in general right now because I'm now part of one of those ecosystems. But I always felt it was important to use a third-party estimating solution before you ever need it. Too many times you're getting into cat situation
Mhm.
and it's a oh no.
Yep.
We need to find a way. We need to know a way to get all these claims pushed through faster and efficiently. So my team, every single estimator in the office today would know how to send their work to third party when they need to. They would do it monthly. They'd have a minimum number every month that they should do anyway, because just to keep them up to date. So handle a lot of your day to day in office. I will say that many large offices even now and big names even do outsource
Yep.
even 100% of their estimating. So find your own happy place, but at a minimum, know how to send your estimate off. If you send it to DocuSketch, and I'll throw out Epic's name out there as well. They use AiME's technology to review all their estimates. Um, and and then lastly, if you're not sending it out to be written by a third party, use a review service like Ask AiME. Why wouldn't you get the quick check that is proven to, help you with both completeness, compliance, and training? Um, it's yeah, more than proven at this point in time.
More than yes. And Epic, great plug for Epic as well. How do you recommend people vet a remote estimating service? There's a lot out there now and more coming out. And I know that you might have to be careful as you wade through that question, but I think I've heard a lot of restorers saying we'd like to try it, but I'm nervous. Like, what if they don't do a good job? What if they miss something? What if they don't do it the way we do it? All of these different things. So you have any quick tips for people wanting to try remote estimating, but they don't even know where to start?
Yeah, for sure. And I'd say try more than one. And
It's a good, that's
hopefully my
actually
boss
really
won't
good
get mad
advice.
at me. But I mean, you should, of course,
Yeah.
you test them, make sure that they're comfortable in their product, make sure that they offer the product that you're looking for. In the time that I've been at DocuSketch, they've added a review service as well. So, as in not just fire the estimate back to you, but be more immersed in the carrier review process. So, if that's what you need, there's companies that'll offer that bit, and there's companies that'll just give you the bare bones estimate. There's companies that'll give you uh, an estimate that's been reviewed by a third party review technology like AiME or the other ones out there as well. So there are different product outcomes and price points out there. And who am I to say what's best for you? I'd also very much pay attention to their ability to scale and where they're operating, because if you understand that they are in your geographical area and primarily service that, it they might get pretty pinned when you also are in cat mode. So just understanding their ability to scale at a time that you need it should be high on the priority list as well.
Yeah, that's a great tip. Just try multiple. I mean,
Yeah,
proof is in the
mine.
pudding then, and to see how it comes out, and then
Yeah.
yeah,
And we'd have to step up and be, you know what? I'd hope we were one of the ones that you test, but we need to be able to answer that bell, that's for sure. So
yeah, perfect. Okay, well, anything else that you want to add on anything estimating technology related? I like to ask the question of like put on your take out your crystal ball and look into the future. What do you think AI is going to do for estimating in the next 5 years? But I feel like it's so hard to tell, and I also don't ever want people to be in a position, well, we're not going to give away what we're doing, but there's stuff coming. So I don't know, like give us a little hint just from your perspective in what did you say, 17 plus years in the industry. What do you think is coming? How is AI going to affect estimating as we move forward?
I think it's gonna. I've been consistent on this one, and I don't think it's changed a whole lot. I think it's still going to continue just to be incremental. I don't. There's been a kind of this worry almost in for different roles, whether it be estimator or to what level a technician's even going to be assisted, that you wake up one day and your job's completely changed. And there's nothing out there on the horizon. I see incremental changes in estimating and scoping in object identification in 360s that are going to assist from content to scoping to everything with automation that's going to help. The truth is, like a lot of what is involved in creating estimate or invoice in our industry is very job dependent. And if you looked in the auto sector, for example, there's a limited number of things that can happen to a type of car, and you know what that type of car looks like every single time. But if you translate that into our space, there's a lot of different ways to put a house together.
Yeah.
Unlikely that two are consistent enough that any sort of an AI can say with any sort of authority or confidence that this is what you're going to do. It's always going to have to be checked at a minimum. It might get better and better at suggesting things, and you're going to be able to build things faster, but there's not going to be, you know what, I'll just be wrong, but I'll be very surprised if we kind of wake up today and that one exists. So I wouldn't get too hung up on it, but I think companies need to continue to pay attention to these products as they come out and decide what's the best for their what little incremental change is worth paying for at the right time, and which ones are really the leaps that they are looking for their business model. So there's going to be a lot of stuff marketed and pushed out there, and having the right lens on to assess them all and decide what's best for your business.
Yeah, that's very good insight. This industry, every trade show that we go to now, there's new technology out there, a new platform to try, often multiple at every trade show. We're recording this the week before Interconnect, and I know that there's going to be a lot there, and so that's just how the industry is evolving. So that's great advice. Okay, anything else that you want to share before we wrap it up?
Check out the DocuSketch booth at Interconnect, and just to say one more time, go over to the AiME site. You can try us for free. There's a freemium version. You'll get your first estimate fully shipped back to you for free and can continue to put more estimates through with limited results after that. So we're not collecting credit cards or any fun stuff like that. So it's just please feel free to try it.
It's much more
And
welcoming
thank
to,
you very much for having me.
of course, much more welcoming to do a free demo when you don't have to put in your credit card information and remember to cancel the demo in 7 days.
Yeah, we're not doing that to you.
Yeah, I never remember, even with a calendar reminder. So awesome. Well, Chris, thank you so much for being here. It was great chatting and catching up with you. Congrats to your continued success and evolution of AiME and now being part of DocuSketch. And I look forward to catching up with you soon.
Thank you. Same here.
For more Restoration Today and the latest news, visit our website, cnrmagazine.com, and find the latest episodes of the Restoration Today podcast on your favorite podcasting platform.